Hello guys, Gorble Lego here, and in today's video I have another LEGO Ninjago review for you guys, and this is of the Elemental Dragon versus the Empress Mech from the LEGO Ninjago theme. So this set retails for £94.99 in the UK, contains 6 minifigures and comes with 1038 pieces. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at the set. So here we have the first part of the set, which is Empress Beatrix's mech. And especially in this scale, I feel that this is probably one of the best LEGO mechs they've ever done. The detail and the articulation he is able to achieve with this model is really great, especially just for a side build on an even bigger set. I feel like this could have definitely been a contender for a much smaller set of its own. That's how good of a build it is. So without going too much into that, I'm going to show you the build. So she does come with a big old sword, and this is sort of like a massive replica of the big energy swords that they use in the show. So this is quite an interesting assembly. I've never seen this piece before, but it's just basically a massive black ring with two Technic axles at the end where you could put pieces in there. So obviously you've got the blade and as well as the hilt. But they've got this really cool little mini orange circle in the middle as well to represent that sort of energy. And you can almost imagine like the energy's going through the ring to project the blade. But other than that, the hilt is really simple with just a Technic tube with a Technic pin in the middle so it can connect to the mech's hand, as well as a little ring at the end to give it some extra detailing. And they do use the orange blade piece, which I'm pretty sure was released during the Prime Empire wave of the sets, but obviously in the orange colour to match the aesthetic of the Imperium. So just taking a look at the build, obviously it's got the main colour schemes of the Imperium from the Dragon's Rising Season 1, which is like black, gold, and the maroonish red as the secondary colour. But I just love how detailed it is for such a small mech as well. So they sort of like take upon the aspects of an Evo mech, but just sort of expand upon it and make it like a deluxe version. Because obviously the Evo mechs do not have this sort of range of articulation that this one does. But you see some similarities like with the cockpit piece here in gold, which obviously latches down to where you can put your Empress Beatrix minifigure or anyone you would like in there. So that's really nice. And I like how they've just sort of tapered everything off here with the gold pieces, and it comes down towards this sort of little robe down at the bottom in that maroonish red to give it a bit of sparkle of colour and not just the black and gold. And now the legs have really good articulation. You've got articulation at the hips, sort of in all directions, as well as a knee joint and as well as ankle joints. So you can get this in a variety of poses. I've made a couple posts on my Instagram about this already. But yeah, there's some sticker detailings on the thigh here. And my favourite part is probably this arm, and it's got a tube connected to the back, which is just on a clip here, which then connects this giant shuriken on the back, which you could imagine is some sort of like fan or something. Oh, sorry, I broke it a little bit there. But I really love how this hand looks with the big claw, so it's a bit of an asymmetric build, which I feel like gives it some more character. But it has this massive hand with these four giant claws rather, which can actually be articulated, so you can imagine it holding something or actually put something in the mech's hand. And then that's also got really good articulation at the wrist here, and as well at the elbow and the shoulder. And this arm is clearly supposed to be a lot bulkier because it's got this massive shoulder pad compared to the other one, which has more light armouring. So I find that really cool. And obviously the other arm is almost similar in sort of the build, but it's a lot like less dense and a bit lighter. There's a lot less parts on it, and it's got the regular sort of mech hands. And this would be conventionally the one you give it the giant sword to. And for Empress Beatrix's accessory, you can actually attach it to the build of the mech. So you can just clip it here on the side of the arm. So that's the Beatrix mech, and now let's get to the main part of the set. So before you actually build the regular dragon, you actually sort of build this technically like a third build in this set, but I'll explain that a bit more in a minute. But it's this little sort of flyer for Jay. So if we just take Jay and put him in the, I guess, a cockpit you could call it, he just sits in this little flyer here, and all these parts can actually be taken off and put onto the dragon, which I'll show you in a moment. But yeah, it's just a really simple glider, just built off this main sort of chassis piece here, which you sort of build first, and then you obviously build the attachments for it. But I'm not going to stick too long on this. So you've got a couple of stud shooters here, which work like you'd expect them to. In that case, it just didn't decide to shoot, and neither did that one. Okay, so that's a bit ironic, but yeah, we've got some sticker detailings here with Jay's logo on there, and just some lightning details. as well as these big massive blade pieces, which you could sort of imagine are sort of like the wings. And then we got some more sort of horns or like golden blades at the back here. And his accessories in the set are golden katanas, which can also be stored on here. So now I'm going to show you how these parts attach to the dragon. So here we have the actual dragon build in its sort of base, sort of original form. So as you can see, it lacks those golden spikes that you may see on the box of the set along its neck, the big spikes that come down from the wings, and as well as the shooters on the top. So you can keep the dragon like this, which I find really cool how they made it a sort of modular set where you can either choose to have it be like upgraded with all this sort of armor or just like a regular wild dragon. So I'm going to show you how each of the parts from this side build actually attaches to the main build here. So just taking a look at the saddle area, as you can see, you actually do get a more simplistic wooden saddle to begin with, or you can just completely omit a saddle. And you're going to take the main sort of cockpit piece from that flyer build, so that's just going to attach on those studs just like so. So that goes there. And as you can see on the wings here, there's these Technic rods that are kind of exposed that protrude through the wings. And this is where your stud shooters are going to go. So there actually is a Technic connection in the middle of these. And all you do is just place them on top there. Just like so. Now you've got a sort of play feature or like shooters on the dragon. Now moving to the underside of the wings, you're actually going to now attach these big blade pieces at the bottom. So where these go is you may see these sort of Technic pieces here, and all you do with those is just attach the exposed Technic rod, which I believe I've got it the wrong way. Ooh, just in like so. So there's two on each side. Those just slot in really easily. And as you can see, it adds some extra details to the wings. Then finally, you just have these gold little horns or spikes which attach to these clips on the neck. So these just go in like so, as you'd sort of expect. And there you go, that's the dragon complete. So now let's take a look at the full thing. So here we have the fully upgraded dragon. And as you can see, this thing is quite a beast, especially for the price. I feel like you're getting such a good deal here, and I didn't realise how big this set actually was until I built it and saw it in person. Because in the box it doesn't look that big, but it is actually just a behemoth. It's so giant, and I feel like it's probably one of the best Lego dragons they've ever done. But I'll talk about more of what I think about the set later. So taking a look at probably one of my favourite parts is the sort of underbelly and underside of the set and how they've really rounded it off. So I feel like they was definitely going for like a very like theropod sort of Tyrannosaurus design, if that makes a bit of sense, where it's like bipedal and it's got shorter arms. But they've done a really great job at rounding off and covering up a lot of the anti-studs on the bottom side, especially in the chest and stomach area. And they've achieved that with a lot of these hinge pieces to give it this sort of bird like breastplate almost. So it looks very bird-like at the same time. I like a lot of the usage of the curved pieces to give it like a really organic look and how it sort of would look if it was a real thing. And I like how it contrasts as well the tan with the dark blue. I feel like it fits really well with the set, and they've done it was a really good choice for part colour. So that's really cool. As you can see, it sort of slopes there. There is a bit of a gap there because obviously there are some limitations with Lego pieces, so you can't have everything to be perfect, but that's probably one of my favourite parts, and obviously it continues up to the neck until towards the head. And then the arms, or the forelimbs, you can kind of use them as mini legs, are attached to these ball joints here, so you get a good range of motion on them. And I like how they've used the Evo joint to get a natural bend in the elbow, so there is no articulation there, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't really mind because it's not really taking anything away, or especially in terms of playability. But these are really simple with just some sticker details on the side to emulate sort of scales, and as well as a hint of this really like pale yellow, which is really cool. And that continues onto the sticker detailing. And the hands are really simple. They are very similar to the Jungle Dragon's feet actually, in terms of their build, just with an underclaw or like a thumb claw. And those are all individually posable. And I accidentally knocked over the saddle a bit, but that's one problem I do have with the set a little bit. I'll fix that later. But yeah, those are all individually posable, as you'd sort of expect. Then taking a look at the head, seeing it's close. If I just adjust him so we can see him a bit better. I really like how they've done the head here, especially as well as the neck. So they've used some of the pieces that they introduced from like 2021 or 2022, I think, with the core sets, especially with this piece. And this one was from the core set from the Ice Dragon, but I feel like it works really well with the translucent dual molding with the yellow to look like lightning. And I really like how they've done the face here to also, again, signify the elemental dragon that this is lightning, with just these streaks and bolts of lightning going away from its eyes. And I feel like this is probably one of the best heads of one of the most recent dragons they've done. And on the inside as well, they've added these sort of Technic pins, so you can add these lightning bolts, which I think actually were originally created for this set. So that's really cool, and I feel like it looks really awesome, and obviously gives this a really nice presence on your shelf and in your collection. And then the neck is on sort of 3 distinct joints here, so you can get a lot of posability in it, so you can individually pose where the head goes and where the neck goes. But the only problem I have with it is, especially when you're posing it much more upright and you want to have the base of the neck back a little bit, when you bring the head a bit too far forward, the build is just a bit too heavy to the point where it drags the head down. But it gives it a nice natural arch, but it's just a bit of a pain when I'm trying to pose it or whatever, or want to get in a specific place, and it just sort of collapses because it's so heavy. But another cool detail about the top of the head is that they used one of the dragon energy cores from the Dragon's Rising Wave, and that just goes in this weird piece here, and it can actually move around. And that can be taken out if you want to, but I've never actually really taken it out because these pieces are always really annoying to get the ball out. And then that just goes there like so, and now he just has a bit of a hole in his head, which is why I don't take it out. But here is the little sphere, and that just slots in right there. But that's a nice little play feature. You have some parts of the build that are meant to be taken off, and obviously the Imperium are trying to steal the dragon energy. Then taking a look at the legs, I feel like they've done a really good job with the legs here. If I just move the wing out the way, turn the camera down. So as you can see, they've got a very dinosaur or theropod-like leg, and it's really beefy, and I love the design for it. It's very sturdy as well. They've used a double sort of mech connector joint for the hip joint there, so you get a lot of tension here, and it's not going to slip and loosen over time like some of the mech joints do. But they've got some nice curvature, similar to what they've done with the underbelly. They've captured the shape of the leg really well to give it as much of a realistic look as they possibly could if this was to be a real thing. If I just adjust it here, it's sort of falling over. But I love this build so much, it's so awesome. And we got some more sticky detailing going down towards the ankle, and then the feet are actually quite big, which is quite good for the build, so there's a lot of surface area. So you're fine. The only time this really topples over if you pose them too far forward or backwards, because obviously the build is quite heavy, so if you put too much weight on this side, it will obviously tip back. But I feel like it helps with posability and stability in the set with having those big feet, so it doesn't fall when you're trying to pose it or display it. But yeah, that's the legs. There's not really much to talk about those, because the only points where you have articulation is at the hip and at the ankle, but only laterally, so you can't move it backwards and forwards because it's actually got 2 joints here, so it actually stops and inhibits going backwards and forwards. But I don't mind that, to be honest, because I feel like you get enough posability to begin with. Then taking a look at the wings, they've used the the tail's sort of in the way. They've used the vinyl pieces that they started doing a lot more recently. That's one thing I like about the newer dragons, that they use the vinyl and the felt pieces compared to being entirely brick built, so it obviously just gives the wings a much fuller look. But just going from side to side, you can see how massive the wingspan of the set is. It's almost probably as long as the entire dragon itself. But you got some nice mashups of colours, also with the light azure, the dark blue, and the pastel yellow at the bottom. And I like how they've cut and trimmed it to make it look really sharp, and obviously to make it, you imagine this is a lightning dragon, so everything's really sharp and jagged and stuff like that. But they've accomplished that really well, and obviously they use these little, if the camera focus, these pin pieces to hold them in place. So that's really common practice now to see in Ninjago dragons, and I love it. Then taking a look at the back, just ignore the saddle not being there. They've also tied the back off really well to make it look really organic as well. And I like what they've done with the sort of spines along the back, which mirror each other on either side, with these pastel yellow pieces that just run down all the way the length of the tail. And they've created a really nice sort of shaping of the build, similar to what they've done with the Jungle Dragon, where if I move the wing, it's actually got this natural bend in it. So it's sort of fixed in that position, so it's not entirely straight, but I feel like it gives it a lot more emotion and character for when you're trying to pose this, which is just so awesome. Then taking a look at the tail, the sort of last detail I haven't touched upon yet. There is four rather distinct joints, one at the base, the middle, the end, and at the very tip. So as you can see, you can imagine you can get a lot of posability in this tail. And it's nice where it's not like the Jungle Dragon where it flails around everywhere. So it's a bit more fixed and you can sort of dictate how you want it to look. And they've used some more of those lightning pieces coming out from the tail to obviously say, oh, this is the lightning dragon. So those are some of the key details. I'll go further in depth on my opinion in a moment, but this is probably one of my most favourite dragons I've ever gotten, and definitely one you should pick up. So without further ado, let's take a look at the minifigures and go on to the final verdict. So here we have sort of our main character of the set, which is obviously Jay, but this minifigure obviously didn't appear in the show, so it's not actually canon. But just taking a look at the detail, you can obviously see they've gone for a dark blue as the secondary colour, and his main colour is obviously his regular, just sort of light blue. And I feel like it looks really well for this minifigure. As you can see here, you've got some of his logo here, which is actually printed in gold, and the way his robes overlap as well, there's some more gold printing up in there, with that dark blue continuing down from the belly down towards the knees there. And just turning him around, you can actually see the Source Dragon logo in the middle, but it's a bit difficult to see, so I'm going to remove some of these parts in a moment just to give you a better look. So there is the Source Dragon logo, and like the other ninja from the wave, they actually got new face prints. So here's his first face print, which is just a really angry, disgruntled look, which is quite new for Jay. And then his more electronic visor look, which is exclusive to these Dragons Rising sets. So that's Jay, and let's move on to the next minifigure. So our second ninja in the set is Zane, and I think this is the second and only set he came in the original Dragons Rising set, so it's obviously his own car. But similar to Jay, he's gone for a double colour scheme look, where his base colour is obviously white, with the light azure blue as his secondary colour, and I feel like this works really well for Zane because he's only recently started to implement this colour a lot more in his suits. But similar to Jay, you sort of got this half design and then there's some robe detailings as well. So they're sort of all like mirror images of each other, but just sort of use their own colour schemes. And again, we've got his own logo, and I forgot to mention that all the ninja slash protagonists come with golden katanas as their accessory. Then his helmet and mask piece are the same as Jay, but I just want to show you the face print and the details on the back because I've showcased this minifigure before. We've got a simple sort of stern expression for Zane here, and then on the back we got the same sort of situation with this sort of electronic visor on the back, which was obviously new with the Dragons Rising stuff. And as you can see, they've got the Source Dragon logo here with some sort of ice shards breaking out from him. So here we have Sora, which I think is probably one of the best minifigures in this set. And she's got a really awesome colour scheme with the white, the pink and the dark blue. Obviously you can just sort of see she's got lots of little gadgets and trinkets all over her suit, which are sort of printed in that gold colour, as you can see down there. And she also comes with golden katanas. One of her arms is actually printed, because obviously if you've seen the show, she's actually from the Imperium realm. And I guess that's what they was trying to translate here with her arm, which is sort of this gold mechanical design, which I really like, gives her a lot of character. And then taking a look at the most striking part of the build is obviously her hood piece. She's got the same mask piece as the rest of the ninja, but she has her own unique cowl, or mask rather. And it's just sort of like this cat hood, which is actually dual moulded, and obviously just gives her these little cat ears, and you can see her hair poking through. So she's got this really nice aesthetic, and obviously she's probably one of the most unique like ninja of the entire theme in its sort of 13-year course. And taking off her armor detailing, she does also have two face prints. Her first being just this sort of angry, stern look on her. She's got some gold face paint there. And her second one is her using her powers, where she's just got a neutral expression and she's got pink eyes. Then we have this Imperium Guard character. I don't remember the specific name for them, but they actually are exclusive, this one in this all gold colour, I'm pretty sure. But they come with this cool staff, which is sort of like this trident almost, missing the third part of the fork. But that's just a really simple build. And it's nice to get a much more unique weapon than just golden katanas. As you can see, the most funny part of the build is obviously this disc sort of helmet here, which just attaches like any other minifigure accessory, and there is a stud attachment at the front. So if you wanted to put anything on there, you could. He's got this sort of Cyclops design with this one big red eye and a lot of this gold armor placing around his face. And I feel like that's really cool and obviously gives them a unique vibe for the season that they were introduced. And obviously that translates down to the rest of the detailing of the minifigure using gold as its sort of main colour scheme with a lot of armour plating. And hints of orange here, sort of orange lights which come from the eye, I guess. And the Imperium do have their own unique shoulder pad piece, which is brand new for Ninjago. And take a look at the back, we got some more of that gold armour detailing, which just continues from the front. Then we have the other sort of, I guess, the main villain of this set, which is Empress Beatrix. And she comes in only a handful of sets as well. But her accessory is this really awesome dual moulded sword piece, which was introduced with this wave. And it's got this awesome translucent orange blade, which also has a minifig handle attachment there, as well as two on the actual hilt. So that's really nice to get another one of those. And to take a look at her detailing, she's got a much more monochrome, sort of black and grey aesthetic rather than being vibrant and golden. She has some gold with her armour, obviously, but I feel like that really fits into her character, where she's sort of got this really sophisticated, sort of simple robe look with some of the orange lighting here to give her a much more grand appearance and make her stand out from the rest of Imperium. Her hairpiece is also new, I'm pretty sure, from 2023. But it's in this white colour and sort of sweeps to one side, so you can see a lot of her head there, with some of the similar golden face printing like Sora has, which just comes across her left eye here. And she's got this really angry, disgruntled look for one face. Flipping it around, that expression just sort of intensifies, she becomes even more angry. And there is one of the little ports on the top of the hair, so you could put some of those really weird minifigure attachments on, like the crowns and stuff and the tiaras. So that's Empress Beatrix, and let's take a look at the final minifigure. Saving who I think was best to last, which is Lord Ras in this set. So he comes in quite a few sets in this original Dragon's Rising wave, but I feel like he's probably one of the best minifigures. His weapon is this really cool hammer build, which is mostly golden and orange. As you can see, they use some of the roller skate pieces, and it's quite a complex build for such a small weapon. But obviously there's so much detail jam-packed into this one minifigure, especially with the head mold, which is super unique and exclusive to him. Gives him this sort of tiger wolf look with some sort of purple face print down there, and as well as silver around his eyes. And he's got another sort of unique look. Rather than being mostly golden, he's got this sort of really dark red maroonish robe with a lot of golden accents. And I feel that obviously then sets him apart from a lot of the other characters. His arms as well, he's got arm printing with this sort of purple tiger stripes, as well as these little gauntlets at the end, or bracelets, which I feel just adds to the detail of this minifigure, which is already so jam-packed of it. As well with those new shoulder pad pieces for the Imperium, and it's surprising how well the head fits around these armor pieces. It probably was built around this head. And then more of that gold detailing on his robes at the back there with a little sort of insignia. I'm not sure what that's supposed to symbolise or whether it's just a design. But yeah, that is Lord Ras. So now let's move on to my final thoughts. And just before we finish the final thoughts, I forgot to mention that this set did include Baby Ryu. So he's obviously that sort of one single moulded piece with just some simple details on the side. So for those that are familiar with him, you're going to know what this looks like. But yeah, not really much to say about him, but I did forget about him in the review. But other than that, I felt that this is probably one of the best original of the Dragon's Rising sets that originally released in 2023. I feel like the deal you're getting here, especially with just the size of the dragon alone, it's such a big dragon for the price, and I was able to actually get this on sale. So now the fact this set's been on sale for about a year now, near enough a year, sorry, you're going to be able to find it probably for a lot cheaper than its retail price. I think I've got it for about £60 or £70. So even just for the dragon alone, but the fact you get a substantial size mech, which is also really brilliant for its size and its posability and its detail, is great. You get a great cast of minifigures down here, as well as in the mech. You get a good variety of sort of playability with the dragon and the mech. Obviously, they're sort of meant to battle each other. So I feel like that's really cool. And as well as the modular aspect of like the different saddles or whatever for the dragon, as well as being able to take parts off and switch them around and make another build in that little flyer. But if you was to only ever pick up one of the recent Dragons Rising sets, especially even from the more recent waves, I feel like this is definitely going to be a top pick for me, because the fact you get a really cool dragon, good mech, great selection of minifigures, and as well as for the price you're getting a really good deal. So if you want to check out some more videos on my channel, I'll leave some pinned on the screen now, and that's going to be all from me from now. So without further ado, I'm going to sign out and goodbye.